Hey, what's up, what's up, what's up, what's up? A gracious good morning to you good people. It's your girl KB. You know what I do and you know why I do it. It is Tuesday morning. It is August 26th and it is 3:38 in the a.m. When I tip my head like this, I'm looking at my clock on my computer. Anywho, let me add on to my recording discussing the people who are upset with me. I made a statement in the first video, and I'm paraphrasing. I made the comment, I hear how you talk. And this is a true story. It reminds me of the time I was in the Chevy dealership. I was trading in my Equinox. I had a Latina salesperson, very sweet youngster, and I was determined to trade in this Equinox because it was getting up there in the mileage. I think it had 77,000 miles. And I noticed little things. I could tell the difference in the engine. And my guess was, for the most part, there was some transmission problems coming. You know, and the reason I know about cars is because a lot of my family members worked in the car industry over a number of years when the car industry was in its boom back east. You know, my dad worked at Chevy at one point in time, then Trico, which is known for basically windshield wipers. My grandfather would only drive a Chevy, and for the most part, the majority of my cars have been Chevys up until late. And this particular Chevy dealership is the reason why I say up until late. Anywho, you know, I was sitting in the waiting area. I pretty much test drove every vehicle on the lot that was within my price range. And as I was about to call it a wrap, this lovely old couple came in with a Yaris. And I would say, because my salesperson was so nice and sweet, you know, she even wrecked her car coming in to follow up with me. You know, I was determined to give her a sale and a commission. Plus the fact she's Latina, and, you know, most of the salespeople were white men. And she was the very first person to approach me on the lot. Now, I've gone to that lot before, just kind of window shopping, and no one came out. That was the first strike. And that's way before I was ready to buy a car. I was just looking. But it would have been nice to, you know, hey, can I help you? Now, I don't like to be followed around. But hey, can I help you? Acknowledge the fact that I'm present. Nobody knew how much I had in my pocket. Nobody knew I was ready to spend. Nobody knew if I was even going to pay cash. I couldn't at the time, but nobody even bothered to ask. And then there was another point in time where I did buy a car because my salesman was black. The brother's name was Josh. And there was another guy, a white man, who was a PK. And for those of you who don't know, the initials, preacher's kid. But he was a really nice guy. I bought a car from him. And that was Nick. So the Latina's name was Jazz. See, I developed a sense of connection with these folks. I knew their names. again, up until relatively recently, I would only drive a Chevy as an homage to my grandfather. But again, this older couple came in with this Yaris, and I swear to you, they must have been, you know, the kind of couple that would only drive their car to church. My guess is it was the second car for the family, and the lady just stopped driving. And I'm gonna tell you why she stopped driving, because that car was so lightweight that you felt everything. I traded the car in for the car that I have now because of one good rainstorm, and I just feared for my life. And ever since driving that car, which had one wiper blade, that's the kind of car it was, one. And no, the other one didn't break off. It just had one. It was made with one 28-inch wiper blade for the windshield. But I digress. So, I trade in my Equinox, you know, crossover vehicle, pretty big. And I knew he voted a maniac into office, so it was going to be costly repairs and, you know, gas costs. And at this point, gas was roughly a little over $5 a gallon. I'm not doing that. So I see this car that comes into the lot. And as one last ditch effort, because like I said, I drove most of the cars on the lot, I said, how about looking at this one? Just look at it. That car only had 14,000 miles on it, the Yaris. And it was 1 year older than the car I was trading in. So I was getting an older car with very low mileage. But again, I know why. You know, and to go visit my sister, I have to cross the Bay Bridge. Now the bay itself was known for its funky currents because of the wind, and it had a major undertow. So you could imagine the wind that was on the Bay Bridge. Excuse me. The wind at times is so strong, it tips over semis. So can you imagine driving this itty bitty car on the Bay Bridge in a major rainstorm? I mean, this was kind of the storm that the rain was going sideways, and I got one wiper blade. Yeah, that part. So, in purchasing this car, I'm sitting in the waiting room waiting for the paperwork to be processed. And I hear who I later found out was the sales manager and another employee talking in the office. And then I hear my father would come in my room and ask why I'm listening to this jigaboo music. You feel my face? Without hesitation, I get up and I walk into this individual's office. And I looked him dead in his eye. I said, I heard what you said. You didn't know who the hell was sitting out here. And I came right back out. And my salesperson was walking around, you know, asking me if I wanted anything, this, that, and the other. You know what salespeople do. I said, I'd like to see the manager. So the manager I can see him on the phone, you know, but he's looking at me while he's on the phone, like, you can wait. I felt that vibe. So when he finally comes out, I tell him what transpired. He goes in and talks to the gentleman. And I'm using that term loosely. And he said, I know him personally, and I know he doesn't have a racist bone in his body. Okay, just exactly where is the racist bone located? Because I need to know. And for me, I figured it's somewhere near the rectum where the gentleman's head was located. So I'm listening to this dribble, and like I said, I asked, where is the racist bone? And it's like, you can't tell me that because he used the word. And he didn't use it in the context where he was upset that his father used this term. He called it what he knows it to be. You know, this is the language that they use with one another. So, yeah, I'm upset that this fool comes to defend this other fool. You know, at that point, I could have canceled the sale. But I didn't because, like I said, I had a lovely person of color helping me. She provided me with the manager's boss's information and the owner of the dealership's name. I started a hell of a movement with that particular dealership. And when I came back to pick up my vehicle, which was being detailed and serviced for the sale, I said I want no dealings with the individual that was the sales manager. Somebody else is going to have to sign my paperwork. Come to find out, the individual was suspended for 5 days as a result of my complaint. I'm going to say, I continue to drive an American vehicle. The Toyota was only the second car in my lifetime that I've had that was not an American vehicle. But I believe, and I like to think somebody learned a lesson as a result of my supersonic hearing and their poor choice of words. I'm not to be toyed with when it comes to that.